129. Recorded Thursday, March 4th, 2021. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Dum-dum-dum.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Android Buffet podcast. The last episode that I will be doing in this place for the immediate future.
Oh, are you sad?
That I am leaving Florida? Surprisingly, at the moment, no. I may be sad in the future, and I may come back. It's not like you've... How many times over the years, and I'm not asking for a definite number, have you communicated with me while I was down here visiting? At least more than once.
Okay. It's been kind of the same, really.
No, but I'm saying this is the longest I've spent down here, but I come down here a couple times a year to visit.
Yep.
So I am looking forward to returning to this being a visiting rather than a long-term thing. So if all goes right, I will be speeding past you on the train by Sunday night. You're welcome to go out to the tracks and wave.
Yay!
Not going to do that?
Probably not.
Okay. So I've started packing up my stuff. I've already taken down the webcam that I use for Zoom meetings. My last Zoom meeting where I would use a camera was last night. And I'm leaving this microphone here, so I now have a full backup studio here full of old components. The streaming stuff is going to get packed up after the show. And I have all my other gear slowly being dismantled. And then before Thursday, I will remantle it. That's the opposite of dismantle, right? Remantle?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what exciting things have happened to you this week?
I don't have anything exciting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I know what I look forward to being able to do next week. The new Home Assistant has a new software platform for Z-Wave. So they're switching from Open Z-Wave over to, I think it's Z-Wave JS. So I have this whole project to move over to the new thing that they're supporting away from the thing they're no longer supporting. I thought it was a bad idea to try to load a new Z-Wave controller while I was nowhere near the Z-Wave controller in question.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be one of the projects when I get back. I actually have two Z-Wave controllers. This is the only place that only has Zigbee. Every other place that I've installed Home Assistant has both. I also have to pack up the Narvon. I mentioned the Narvon, didn't I?
No.
Oh, I bought 5 gallons of Narvon.
I don't even know what that is.
It's 5 gallons of diet syrup. It's one of those big, gigantic bags and boxes that they put into soda machines.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Great deal. Unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit of a pain to transport, but...
Why?
What?
Why?
Because I'm worried it's going to burst open and get all over the car. Remember, the car is going to be on a train. Fair amount of shaking, so I have to... It's more that I have to make sure it's secured. I have to remove the spigot that I put on the bag and then, screw the cap back on and then maybe put it in a garbage bag just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't... Because otherwise the entire floor of the car could be brown with Diet Cola. know how bad that can be after my upstairs neighbor spilled some Diet Cola and didn't clean it up and it leaked through and there was a giant brown stain in my ceiling. I'm the only
Really?
person I've ever met who has ever been able to say that it rained Diet Pepsi on me.
But diet sodas tend to be not sticky.
Oh, it wasn't sticky. It just leaked through the ceiling. My upstairs neighbor has an annoying tendency to flood my apartment, or at least flood the ceiling.
I would qualify that as annoying. Yep, yep.
Yeah, he also his air conditioner also leaked, causing ceiling damage at one point, and his sink also did so because his solution to hearing water was to put more water down it. But I think everything's been repaired, or at least I could come back and find a bunch of ceiling damage, but I suppose I'll find out. Anyway, other than that, with my mind all on packing, I continue all of my other projects that you hear about all the time. So I'm preparing for resuming some of the home automation projects that were on hold while I was away.
All
So-
excited.
Sitting there are two Wisecam V3s. Was it one or two that I ordered? I think I ordered two. To replace some of the ones that are of less fidelity, and they've been sitting there waiting for me since December. I still have my smart curtains, which I have yet to fully integrate into my smart home system.
And they are sad.
Well, when
They
the
want to be integrated.
yeah, well, I did sort of integrate them. It wasn't quite reliable, so I needed to do a little more. But I'm excited about the idea of when it's a sunny day, as detected by my weather station, that I could go and open the window, or at least open the curtains and bring some natural light in and turn down the internal light. And then when it starts to get dark, close the curtains and bring on the internal light.
Sounds fancy.
The only technical problem is how does Home Assistant know whether or not I want the windows open because I've gotten dressed that day? I'm worried that it will spontaneously open the curtains and I will not be physically ready for that. That wouldn't be the biggest problem of my life, but it's one of those things. I also people randomly wander into behind my apartment. The cable and the telephone service access for my building and the adjoining building happens to be behind my bedroom window. That and some random dogs from the neighborhood seem to enjoy the backyard.
Oh, that's okay.
Well,
I think it's okay.
they like to leave packages.
Well, at least they don't charge you shipping.
Yes, but I don't want to pick them up. There are like rules about that in most municipalities about what you're supposed to do with your dog's remnants.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, if your dog lives like 3 doors down and then runs into your backyard, does his business, and then goes home, they don't clean it up. I was thinking of like putting one of those little garden gates, not one that would prevent anybody from really entering, but would sort of convince the dog to do their business elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I haven't been there long enough to stake a couple of those posts that you put into the ground and stamp down with your foot?
Yep.
Like put a couple of those.
Ah. Okay. Well, I mean, good luck.
I'm not trying to prevent a determined individual from getting into the backyard. I'm just trying to prevent having to clean up other people's dog feces. Seems like a easy goal.
It does.
Yeah, well, I'm not against dogs. It has nothing to do with the dogs. It has the fact that their owners don't even know that they're doing that. I have a camera back there. I know exactly what's going on. But anyway. So other than that, again, more excitement that I'm going to be able to go back to my home and leave this place. On the Android side, I did get the March Pixel feature drop? Did you download that?
I have not gotten it,
You can ask
and
for
I
it.
am sad.
Well, usually if you ask, they'll give it to you.
Well, yeah, but every time I call Google, they don't even answer.
No, if you go into System Update and just ask it to check, it usually considers it a signal that you want the thing early.
All right, well, I'm going to try this right now and see if you're telling me the truth.
Well, back in
So
the old
here I
days,
am in settings. I'm going to go down to About Phone, and I'm going to go into no.
but back in the old days, that used to do absolutely nothing, hitting check update. But I know more recently Google has said that they'll consider it sort of a signal to move you up on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again,
Kind of like who did that? That was check. Okay, here we go. I am on the February 5th security update. I'm going to check. My last check was like 10 hours ago.
so hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. It says preparing system update.
Told you.
Wow.
If you do nothing, it will eventually get to you sort of randomly. But if you check for updates manually, then it considers that you must want the thing earlier and bumps you up. You know how they do. You know, they do sort of these. What's the name for that? It's escaping me. The blank test where they like deploy it to 20% of people.
Oh, like a slow rollout thing.
Yeah, there's like a term for it.
A beta test, or
It's
yeah,
not a
I know
beta.
what you're.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
the term is escaping me. But either way, smoke test.
Smoke test.
That's the one I was looking for. So if essentially they decided, I think it was like 2 years ago, that if you press the button, that means you're sort of saying, I want to be in the testing group.
Right, right.
So they put you in the testing group.
They certainly did.
Yep. Anyway, moving along, Google has made their low power sleep API available publicly.
Uh-oh.
So this is not a sleep API as in your phone is going into sleep mode. This is actually an activity recognition API that surfaces information about users' sleep.
Whoa!
So you know
That seems crazy talk.
well, you know that they've had activity recognition APIs for the longest time, where they've tried to detect based on their sensors whether or not you're walking, running, what have you.
Right.
I haven't looked at it recently, but it used to get it wrong all the time. I remember in the summer of 2018, that was when I spent that month down in Manila.
Back in the old summer of 2018.
Yeah, when you could walk around without worrying about your health quite as much as
I
you
still
do now.
walk around without worrying about my health.
I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But I remember I used to walk
Move
from.
to Texas, you'll feel better.
I've been to Texas. I went to Austin. Although some people would say that doesn't count.
Sure it does.
I
think
wasn't.
it counts.
I was in Dallas back in '99, but I didn't really leave the hotel. I went to a conference. So I have not really experienced as much of Texas as I could have otherwise. And there, of course, was that microtel at the Austin airport that they put me in after they canceled my flight. So it was nice.
A microtel.
Yeah. They really, they really splurged for the 2-star hotel when they bumped me off the 10 a.m. flight and then told me that they would put me on a flight the next day.
And did they put you on a flight the next day?
Yeah, and they bought me a sandwich.
Ooh, a sandwich.
Yeah.
Was it a good sandwich?
Well, when they gave me a food voucher, I was determined to find the item in the airport that cost as close to the amount on the voucher as possible without going over it. So I challenged the people at the sandwich shop to put as much on there as possible in order to get me as close to that number as they could. I think they got it down to 24 cents short of what was on the voucher. But that was a good tuna sandwich. But anyway, back to the Sleep API. So the Sleep API reports a sleep confidence, which is reported at a 10-minute interval, and a daily sleep segment, which is reported after a wake-up is detected. it uses a model that uses the device's light and motion sensors as inputs. And they worked with a company that I'm very familiar with, UrbanDroid, who is the developer of Sleep as Android.
Really?
That's the app that I've been using. Sleep as Android is interesting because one of the features they implemented was when you do sleep tracking with them, they have a feature to send MQTT messages to your broker.
Right.
So if I press on my phone that I'm going to start sleep tracking, it can send it to my broker, which means I can do all sorts of home automation stuff with it.
Ooh.
And well, again, if you look at Sleep as Android, it's like, you know how both of us at various times get, really into a certain concept and do our research and learn about it and such.
Right.
The Sleep as Android people, their thing is like sleep. They're really looking for all of these, these obscure features and trying to add more sleep features to their app, which is good.
Who doesn't want more sleep features?
Yeah, so they have all sorts of. They describe it as a Swiss Army knife for getting a better night's sleep. It tracks sleep duration, regularity, phases, snoring, and more.
Wow.
So they apparently worked with an app, written by people who are obsessed with more sleep data, and they now have an API. Also, Tasker has apparently put in beta support where you could write sort of a very basic sleep tracker using Tasker functionality. But I do recommend that you look at Sleep as Android if you haven't. The sheer set of features in it, some of them are overkill.
I don't know, man. You should see that my bed's app.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is for people who don't have a bed. So they offer a bedtime notification.
How do they sleep?
Yeah. No, I'm saying that.
Do they have a cot?
No, I'm saying that beds are not included in this app. It does not interface with your bed. But they offer features like you can put in your ideal hours of sleep. It'll give you a bedtime notification 15 minutes before your ideal amount of sleep period before your alarm goes off. So if you set your alarm for, let's say, 7 and you say that your ideal sleep is 7 hours, it will remind you at 11:45 p.m. it's time for bed.
And will it wake you up according to your REM cycles to have the most effortless wake up that you can?
It tries to. There's a whole bunch of things where it will vary it. It'll try to wake you up in your sleep cycle at a good time. They offer a regular and a backup alarm. So if you frequently turn off the alarm and go back to bed, there's a second alarm that you can set to go off. They have like a sunrise where it will use the screen backlight to gradually raise the brightness. They do sleep tracking by all sorts of things. Not only do they support, the sleep phaser, which I bought from another company, which was not the blazing success I'd hoped it was, but they do support using the sensors on the phone itself. They have the option of turning off your Wi-Fi while you're, and essentially your mobile data while you are sleeping so that your phone won't get any messages. They have an option to automatically set Do Not Disturb while you're sleeping. So they have all these things that they, I'm just using a few examples, but, they have a section where you can put it, add lullabies to help you fall asleep. You can wake up to various sources.
Wow, that's crazy.
No, I'm saying it's like every single sleep feature that they can think of. They have jet lag protection.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they have a function to help you work on your lucid dreaming.
Ooh.
They support integration with wearables, integration with cloud backup, integration with Twitter. So share sleep with your friends. I don't know if I want my phone to tweet out when I'm asleep. Integration with Google Calendar, Google Fit, Spotify for wake up music, Tasker, IFTT. You can set off a webhook. I mentioned MQTT. They support integration into the Intent API. As I said, whether you like all of their features or not, that's a pretty detailed feature list for one app.
You gotta respect their dedication.
No, I do. That's why I'm mentioning it. I respect anybody who has the dedication to do that. Because I told you earlier, I know, and I think you know how you can get into this rabbit hole on a topic and just want to keep building on it.
Yep.
You've heard me mention a few of my rabbit holes over the years. Like my latest one has been the fact that I have been playing the same board game over and over again with my parents while I've been here. So as long as I am going to be playing the same board game, I'm trying to get invested in it.
Cool.
So I bought different maps. So, since they have different editions of the board game that play on different maps so that there would be variants. And now I've come up with the latest idea of, since neither of them can remember the different rules between the different maps, I am coming up with little cards that I can put on the table that will, instead of them consulting the manual, that they'll be able to look at the card and know the variant.
So you're saying the rules change between the maps?
Well, that essentially, yes. So the game, and I've mentioned this, is Ticket to Ride, which is a somewhat popular, simple board game because the rules are easy to understand. So
unless they're your parents.
Well, they just can't keep track of the variants. They can keep track of the basic gameplay, but they always ask me the same questions about what's different in this one. Mm-hmm. So the original game that came out in 2004, has a set of rules, and then the next version that came out was from the U.S. version, which was original, was the European version that added stations, tunnels, and ferries. So that's a variant where you have to remember, how does a station work? How does a tunnel work? How does a ferry work? Then each other version, so then the various maps came out. So one map uses tokens, another one uses ferry cards. The Japan one uses little bullet trains. So the bullet trains are different than the regular trains. The India version has the concept of you getting a bonus if you complete a route on the board between two of the destinations that you have to complete it with. In two different ways, you get a bonus. The African version introduces terrain cards, where if you have a terrain card, you could double your point value for claiming it. So I'm just giving some examples, but it's complicated.
Apparently.
Well, again, if you play the same one over and over again, it isn't. It's just when you switch between them. Then different ones require you, when you are drawing new cards, some of them you draw 3 cards, and you have to keep 2 of them, and some of them you draw 4 cards, and you have to keep 3 of them, etc. So I just came up with little cards that I could stick on the table that would summarize some of the differences in rules. So if somebody says, is this the one with stations, I can point at the card that says stations.
Station.
Yeah. It's a simple solution, but it works for me. And if I keep getting at this, I might be able to get ranked in the app. You know what really shocks me? The top ranked people in the Ticket to Ride digital game, it says how many times they played the game online.
Are you getting up there?
I think one of the no, nowhere near it. I think I've played it like 20 times online. The top like in the top 5, the person who's played the most number of games, not necessarily the best ranked, has played the game online 63,000 times.
I don't even understand how that's possible.
Neither do I. I understand people have had a lot of, let's say, downtime during the last year, because there are things that they would have done that they might not have. And while I certainly enjoy playing the occasional game, and I'm not the biggest game player in the world, I can't imagine sitting there and playing 63,000 online versions of Ticket to Ride.
Wow, that's a lot.
We all need hobbies.
Clearly.
Again, fun sometimes, but I'm not sure I want to play it that much. Although I am playing it somewhat because, again, that is currently my parents' favorite board game, and I've been playing with them. So, moving along. Let's see here. A fake Google Home for PC Chrome extension fooled thousands of people who installed it. So the question is, why, if there are that many people who want a Google Home for PC Chrome extension, why is it they can't have a web app?
I don't know. Why can't they?
I don't know. But I just like the way that they've set this up. It is an extension that links users to a website called All Nigeria Newspaper with instructions for enabling the app through the BlueStacks Android emulator. and apparently it fooled over 10,000 users. But again, why is there not like home.google.com for people who want to control all of their stuff through their computer?
There totally should be.
Yeah, that was sort of the point. It shows that people would like a web interface to their Google Home system. By the way, I'd say Google, if you're listening, do that, but I'm 100% positive that Google is not listening to the two of us.
Why not?
Because they would have done some of the things we'd already said by now.
Oh, okay. So when you say listen, you mean like
Listening to this
a
program.
different type of listen.
Listening
You
to
don't
this
just
program.
mean- I'm sure there are some people at Google that are subscribers.
Hopefully it's because they're being paid by Google to monitor all Android-related traffic.
Probably not.
And they're preparing in the event that we become too popular to complain about our infringement of their trademark. Anyway, so the old Google Pay app will start working on April 5th. So I installed the new Google Pay app only to discover that it will not work with my primary account, which is a Google Apps account or G Suite or whatever they're calling it this week. So I had to switch.
Because nothing does.
No, things do. Just what annoys me
much
is
later than everything else.
yeah, but what annoys me is not that it doesn't work, but the old app did. So suddenly you are taking functionality away from me. It's one thing if I never had it and then you say later, okay, by the way, we're going to give it to you. But they took something away from me, replaced it with a new product that they won't allow me to use. So I did switch my payment processing for the NFC on my phone. Not that I've used NFC in a while, because I haven't paid for anything. I have, but not using my phone.
Right.
I switched over to, I have a Gmail account that I use for that. So I'm prepared.
You are.
Well, we're still back to I have not done any contactless payment. And I actually remember when the last time I did contactless payment was. Because I returned to the United States on March 5th, which is tomorrow.
Yep,
So
yep.
Tomorrow will be a year since I returned to the United States and delved back into the craziness that followed me. But I remember that I used contactless payment to make a purchase the following Monday. Well, I hadn't finished restocking my refrigerator, so I bought myself breakfast.
Contactlessly.
Well, you know, that was one of the few places I knew that allowed me to wave my phone over their card reader. Either way, I've gotten used to people bringing food to me. Not that I didn't do that before, but it's certainly convenient. Not as hot, though. But we all compromise, right?
We do.
Yes.
There
So
is compromise.
yeah. So I do not know whether or not I will like the Google Pay app. It seems like a lot of what their focus is being able to pay other people, and that is something that was not a priority for me with the old app.
Okay.
For example, I mentioned Austin earlier.
I believe you did.
That I had been there, and I was there for an event in December of 2017, and then the following year, I went back for the same event the second time.
Yes.
And they had a third event in February of 2020, but I didn't go because I was away. So the second one, I forget what month it was in, but it would have been sometime in, I believe, 2019, because the first one was December of 2017, so they didn't do it in December of 2018. They did it, I think, in early 2019. So during that event, somebody wanted to pay me for something that I had put down, I think it was $10 for them, and they paid me back using Google Pay. It was the first time I'd ever used it.
Right.
Just recently, I mentioned that I had been playing the online version of Ticket to Ride. I used that $10 to buy the app. That is how long.
Wow.
That is how long the money just sat in the Google Pay account before I found something to do with it.
That's a long time.
I forgot it was there. So clearly me transferring money via Google Pay is not something that's a high priority for me. Anyway, that aside, the Recorder app is coming to the web. So the app now, if you log into the Recording app, which is the one that allows transcripts and recording, then not only will it do cloud backup into your account, but there's apparently a website that they're putting together so you could download the backed up recordings and read the transcripts. Now, I wish I'd had this a year ago, because do you remember when my first Pixel 3 XL died?
I'm going to go with no.
You remember the battery swelled?
Probably not.
Okay. The battery on the phone swelled in October, and then I exchanged it and then got a replacement. And then that replacement started to not work reliably, so I got the Pixel 5.
Well, that's not cool.
Yeah, there was a bunch of other drama that I would choose to block out right now.
All right.
By the way, I said drama, not trauma. I was worried somebody would think I found it a traumatic experience. It was just a dramatic experience. But I realized that the one thing I had not backed up from that phone was the recording stuff.
Yeah.
And I had recorded like 3 audio recordings that I now have lost with the transcripts that I forgot to take off. Oh well.
That's unacceptable.
No, it's sad because I know I have another recording of that event, but not with a transcript. Because I remember that I recorded somebody speaking, and I had both a recorder, which I have the recording of, and my phone sitting there doing the recording and the transcript. And now, if I want to do it, I'll have to find something else to transcribe the audio recording. Amazon Music has finally come to Android TV. So if you like Amazon Music, now you can listen to it on your Android TV.
Yay.
Yep. And continuing my long-standing saga to find a replacement for Dark Sky, which was the last weather app I actually liked, I'm trying out this one that I found a recommendation for this week, the Sunrise weather app. Looks nice so
Tell
far.
you when the sun comes up?
Well, no, the Sunrise weather app, and I have it currently installed on my phone, is a nice little weather app. It does have the option for getting rid of the ads by giving them, I think it's like I forget what the payment is. I think it's like $1 a year or like $7 for the lifetime.
Wow, that's reasonable.
Yeah. But they offer multiple data sources. You can get your weather from Open Weather Map, WeatherBit, AccuWeather, Foreca. That one I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. Weather.gov, which is the National Weather Service. The Canadian equivalent, the Australian equivalent, the French, or the Swedish. So they have like the national weather services of those countries. And then they do, in the Pro version, they'll do radar. They have, weather tracking, etc. So I have this app up now. It is telling me that tomorrow there's a 20% chance of showers before 9 a.m., mostly sunny with a high near 77. North wind 10 to 14 miles per hour, becoming northeast in the afternoon. Winds could gust as high as 18 miles per hour. Not only that, they have an air quality meter. I don't know where they're getting that from because I'm reasonably certain that the National Weather Service does not have an air quality thing. So they're telling me the air quality here is apparently at 57 AQI with essentially a PM 2.5 15 micrograms per meter cubed. They're even measuring the SO2 and NO2.
What are those? Those sound like some sort of
Chemicals.
oxygen variants.
Isn't that sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide?
Okay. Are those bad things?
Well, again, too much of anything in the air that isn't air is. Also, apparently, the carbon monoxide is 218 micrograms per meter cubed. I don't know if that's good, but I'm just wondering because I've taken data from the National Weather Service and I'm reasonably certain that they don't do air quality, so I'm wondering where they're getting it from.
Maybe they're getting it from people like you.
My guess is Purple Air. I think they have an open API, so they're probably getting it from like home users who have their own station like I do, but I'll have a look. Either way, it's a nice little app, and they have some nice options for notifications. They can send you a notification daily, so in the morning they could give you the weather for the day. You can turn on whether or not you want them to give you more rapid weather alerts. But one of the problems I had with a lot of weather apps was a persistent notification. I don't need to constantly know what the weather is. I like the idea that when I wake up in the morning, it has a little weather thing for me to look at.
Yeah,
But I don't think if I want to know in the middle of the day what the weather is, I'll go run the app.
of course.
I don't need to be constantly reminded.
Yep.
It reminds me of something I bought years ago when I was a child called the Indian Weather Rock. Do you have one of those?
I've heard of them. I've certainly read the instructions to them.
Yeah,
They are funny.
Yeah, so the
If you would
Indian
like to
Weather
borrow
Rock
them.
is essentially a rock on a string hanging from like a little triangular stand. So it's things like, if the rock is wet, it is raining. If you can see the rock shadow, it is sunny. If the rock is cold, it is cold outside. If the rock is moving back and forth, it is windy. So again, if I really want to know details of the upcoming weather forecast, I'll look. Otherwise, if I want to know current weather conditions beyond the temperature, which I have myself, I can look at other ways. But if anybody has a good recommendation for a weather app, as you know, I am always in the market for one. I have not found the one that works for me. Extra points if the weather app also allows me to not only do the weather forecast from a third party, but to also bring in my own weather data and mix the two. That would be a nice app. So Google TVs are going to offer a basic only mode.
Wow.
This is wow on so many levels for me. Number one, if you read the article, apparently if you try out the smart mode, you can't go back to the basic mode.
Oh no.
If I'm reading this correctly.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I can understand. Okay, so you have a piece of software, you don't want to run it, you just want basic functionality in your television. You want it to be essentially a screen because you have your own device. And at some point, your device will stop getting software updates, so you might not want to replace the whole television.
Right.
So apparently, if I understand correctly, if I read this, that once you install the full thing, you can't really go back, which seems like a pain. I'm sure somebody will find a way to do it, but no. But the other part that sort of makes me go wow, which I'm not sure if this is the same one as you, is not having a smart television is now a feature.
That's
That's the wow for me. I'm happy they finally recognized that some people don't want the smart features, or they realize the smart features won't last forever, but they'd still like to be able to use the television.
kind of the same thing happened in car radio. And now the perfect radio has evolved over the years. So now it's just a Bluetooth receiver.
Yeah, because you know how long it takes to do software in a car? Because of all the things you have to have, by the time they come up with the radio technology for your car, it's already 2 years old. Just because of the development cycles.
Yep.
So I think the idea of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto was brilliant. We're just going to give you the screen. Your phone is going to do the brains.
Yeah. It's just,
And it didn't have to be your phone. It just, we're going to make it so that the brains are upgradable without you having to replace your whole car. The only thing I wish
like it.
I had was wireless Android Auto, but I'm not going to upgrade my car for that. The last time I tried to upgrade a car when I got Android Auto, it didn't quite work out. I did get Android Auto and it did work. It just, I think aftermarket installs are not necessarily as good as factory installed equipment.
okay.
Well, I'm going to emphasize if you are not the one installing it and making any fixes if necessary. Because when you're dealing with one of these shops and it, like many things in the service industry, you have to find somebody who knows what they're doing. and the one I went to got decent reviews, but I was not. While part they did do a good job, they didn't know very much about Android Auto, so they were very good installers, but they weren't necessarily cooperative when I explained to them that I expected the thing to work. But that's a whole other story. I just put this into the show notes because I just thought it was amusing. Apparently, there is now such a thing as a meat vending machine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's anywhere else, but apparently in Westchester, which is right outside of New York City, a butcher has rolled out meat vending machines. So 24 hours a day, you can go in and you can buy meat from your meat vending machine.
Cool.
I won't be doing that, but I think I don't want to go to Westchester. Also, not the type of meat I would eat. But either way, I like the idea of, okay, you need food at a certain time of night. It doesn't make sense at that time of night to have somebody staffing it. So we'll have this vending machine for, let's say, out of hours. Or we'll have it in a place where it doesn't make sense to have a person. I only worry when automated services replace people 100%, and that doesn't work as a good experience. I have no problem with automation replacing people out of hours, or where there's not enough volume and it wouldn't make sense to have a person. By the way, you still need a person to restock the vending machine. Zoom is offering automatic captioning for all free accounts, coming soon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so this is, you can apply for it now, manually, if you are a free account holder who needs access to the feature. However, they're going to roll it out to everybody this fall. So we could try it on this show. We could automatically caption our Zoom.
Wow. I wonder if it only goes into, I think it only goes into the video, though. So we'd have to record the video. I don't know if we'd get like a transcript afterwards.
Well, we technically are recording the video. Remember, it's going to YouTube. Although I suppose they could transcribe it. But one way or the other, I could record. I have no problem recording the video, but it would be nice if they would also give you a separate text side file. I don't need the overlay. Let's see. Finally, apparently, analytics code within the LastPass app has made people question the security of the app. Not necessarily password security, but again, privacy specifically. There are apparently 7 third-party trackers that are used by the LastPass app.
Wow.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And it does ask the question of maybe whether or not people wish to continue with LastPass, because if you are not happy with their decision to not allow you to have the same features for free, and I was not unhappy with that, I'm willing to pay a company for a service. I'm a little not worried about the fact that they have trackers. A lot of people have trackers. I'm a little worried about the fact that they feel they need to have 7 of them. Although admittedly, 4 of them are Google?
Huh. So that's possibly they installed one, and then Google being Google did what Google does.
Yeah, and it does say it is possible to opt out of analytics in the privacy settings. So it has not changed my behavior. I am still using them. However, I understand why people would say that's a bit overkill for an application that's supposed to be to store my most private data, and it's tracking me that much. I think this came out partially because people are upset at them already, and they're looking for other reasons to be upset. But I understand why they're upset. It's how do you trust a company that wants you to store your credit card information in them and all of your most important passwords? So I did do one thing just to protect myself.
Yes.
I exported my entire LastPass password vault into an encrypted file, and I am keeping my own copy as well.
Good.
So you can export it to an unencrypted CSV. Exported it to a CSV, then imported it into KeePass, and then encrypted it in KeePass, and then deleted the CSV.
Good.
So I'm as protected as I can think to be. Although I do need to do some password hygiene.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think we all do. Just sit down and start changing. Even though I have a password vault, to just go through and change the passwords more often. I still won't know what any of them are. So that brings us to the end of the program for this week. And I'm just reminded of the immortal words of Frank Sinatra.
Which are?
I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in the city that never sleeps. Or, of course, there's also the words of Simon and Garfunkel.
Which are?
Homeward bound. I wish I were homeward bound. I keep going with this theme, but I think I should stop. Anyway, Jerry, I hope you have a nice week.
I will try.
And I hope that nothing happens to me between here and New York. I'm not talking about anything other than travel delays and inconveniences. And I will see all of you on the other side.
Bye, folks.